So, hello. Today in this project we're going to talk about food security. Food security itself has been a huge problem and it affects a lot of people in a different way. So today we're going to see, based on the interviews and on the presentations that we made, how food security is made.
Hello, so we wanted to ask you a question about the importance of food security. Hello. Overall, food security in the food sector, and it doesn't matter if it's a restaurant, hotel, is indeed considered as one of the most essential, if not one of the most important things. Because the task overall, and if we're talking about food security, of course, the task of food is really important in terms of looks. And what is the main point of food security is that in situations of a one-time thing, we're to call it like one-time thing situations, there are times of food poisoning and a lot of items are being found in foods. And that's why giving proper attention to how food looks, how it's being served, is really important in the process of making food overall. What is also really important about chefs and how they work is that they should give attention to, again, how food is being put, how it's being served, and what is the right temperature of keeping the food. So, as we said, food security is important because we should know how to manage the food and how to keep the food in a way that it's not going to endanger the humans and how it's going to be helpful for us. So, as we said, chefs should be able to put the temperature of the food and keep the food in the right degree. Thank you so much.
I have a question. In your words, what is food security?
Hello. In my words, I can describe the food security as an organization which checks if the any vegetables or fruits or any product that we can consume is pure and can be consumed by any people without any danger of to our health or harm.
Hello, I want to ask a question about food insecurity. Which family are the most affected by food insecurity?
Food insecurity mostly affects single mother families and families with very low incomes. About 10% of families in the world are extreme poor. They earn less than $1.9 a day. It also affects the elderly over 75 years old.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone. Today we're going to have a really interesting presentation about the food security, and the members are me, Fidan Mahmudova, Fatsal Zadeh, and Sahib Abbas. Here are the questions, the objectives that are going to be answered today, and Afat is going to start the first.
Security. First, I will talk about why is food security such as a major global challenge. Obvious answer is that everyone needs nourishment, and however, the interest of the distributing sufficient food to the country population and to the entire world population demonstrates why food security is such as a necessity for all countries, whether developing or developed. Food insecurity is frequently associated with poverty in both United States and other developing countries. Shifting the global economy, such as increasing the global food and energy prices, can be a worldwide impact on the food insecurity, and with low-income nations bearing the brunt of the consequence. Secondly, what are the major causes of food insecurity? There are some causes, which is the effect, which is the cause in food insecurity. And firstly, poverty, unemployment, and low income. Secondly, lack of the affordable housing. And third, chronic health condition and lack of access to healthcare. And fourth, systemic racism and racial discrimination. Third, how is the food security measures, food security indicators? At the bare minimum, food security is already availability to the nutritional appropriate and safe meals, assurance of the capacity to obtain appropriately meals in social acceptable way, that is without resorting to emergency food supplies, surveillance, stealing, or other coping strategies. First, investigate world food production. The major food producing country, firstly China, because China has 7% of the arable land, is that they feed 22 percent of the world's population. Second, United States. United States is known for its agriculture science and provides some advanced agricultural technology in the world. Brazil, India, then Russia, France, Mexico, and Japan. They are the top 10 agriculture countries in the world. Factor affecting food security, first light availability, available nutrients, water in the soil, and competition with other plants. For example, light availability. When light will be good, when light is good, and it affects the food production, and food production increase. And when the water in the soil is more, and in this time, it also affects the food production, and they will be good and beneficial food for us, and food production will increase. And also, we can say that available nutrients and competition with other plants. And the food type in the global market, which are sold the most, fruits, vegetables are the most popular product offering in the global fresh food market. Now, I will say the most, which are sold most. And firstly, fruits and vegetables, then meat and poultry, fish, seafood, browse related reports and about technology. Then distribution of the food production in the world. Food distribution is the process where general population is supplied with the food. The Food and Agriculture Organization considered food distribution as a subset of the food system. The process and methodology behind food distribution varies by location. And now the food supply chain. First, the import and export, the different stages of the food supply, producer, handling, storage, processing, packaging, distribution, retail, consumption. About the sustainable and healthy diet. Sustainable healthy diet are dietary patterns that promote all dimensions of individual health and well-being. Although environmental pressure and impact are accessible, affordable, safe, equitable, and are culturally acceptable. Investigate the importance of the healthy food for human organization. The healthy diet is essential for good health and nutrition. It protects you against many chronic non-communicable diseases, such as heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. When we eat the healthy food, we will not have diabetes and cancer, hopefully. Then, what's the organic junk food? Organic junk food is still junk. From perspective, organic junk food are often identical to their conventional counterparts. They tend to be equally high in sugar, low in protein and fiber. Organic junk food places are McDonald's, KFC, for example, because they have the, for example, hamburger, then nuggets free, and these are have high in sugar and low in protein. And there are the harmful effects of junk food. When we eat junk food, we may be obesity. And obesity is one of the most common and recessive effect of junk food. Is a rise in obesity in an individual. Learning and memory problems. It can cause our memory problems and loss of digestion. Mental impact is into depression. For example, when the person is obesity, when she or he looks at the mirror, then he or she doesn't like. Himself or herself, and it can be of the depression problem, and inadequate growth and development. It can.
So COVID-19 and food systems resilience. Food systems are the systems that are needed to see whether or not the people are getting the food that is being passed. Apart from directly affecting the food supply chains during the lockdown, survey findings indicate that the COVID-19 pandemic also affected the people in a way that they were losing their loved ones and they're leaving due to that change was immense. And COVID-19 has also decreased the amount of people needing the nutrients and nutritional food as they could not be able to access the food that they need. As we know, we had a really long-term quarantine that was for all the people all around the world. And the people that were coming from the racially different groups that were like suffering from poverty were actually the ones suffering the most. So the next one goes food systems and climate change. So climate change indeed affects the food and the nutritional value of it. Therefore, we can see how much the food production, gaining things like crop, milk, etc., is hard. More so, the people from different racial groups, which, as I said, are suffering from the poverty, could not be able to access many important things like nutrients because of the climate change, because of how fast and how different it is. And less access to nutritional food affects food security negatively. As we know, food security is basically accessing to the nutritional food that we need. So seafood and aquaculture comes next. If we're talking about fish farming in a way that it can increase the food security and nutrition, we can state many facts. As we know, fish and seafood has a lot of vitamins, a lot of nutritional compounds that are needed for the organism of humans to be healthy. So fish and aquaculture is essential in a way that it also increases the amount of nutritional food that we as people use. So as a scientific fact, 3 billion people farm the seafood and consume it. So wasted food and which regions waste the food the most. Wasted food has become a huge problem nowadays. And even though we know that some of the countries have different ways to reduce the amount of wasted food. Some people still do it. And wasted food is being dumped to roads, oceans, and it can kill the animals and that tries to consume it. Because we know that turtles can eat the plastics and fish and sea food that is being like poisoned for us humans too. And according to Feed in America organization, more than $218 billion each year on food is being wasted in America. And products like milk is the product wasted most of the time. So not eaten food is 1/3 of the world, and it's estimated that 30 million tons of food in the US and 1.3 billion metric tons worldwide each year is being wasted. So food companies and TNCs. Food companies all around the world make huge impact on the way healthy, nutritious food is being used. TNCs create big food companies, therefore TNCs are the ones making big changes on the let's sees and the way food is being used and consumed there. The examples of big food companies can be McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, Starbucks, and etc. Some of the impacts that the food companies from TNC have is enormous. They can drive the prices up, making it difficult for the poorest to afford nutritious food, or prevent smallholder farmers from making good profits from their crops. And as we know, one of the main points of the food security is gaining access to food that is healthy, nutritional, but the people that are suffering from poverty, that have really less amount of money, could not be able to access it. So Sahib goes next.
The Sustainable Development Goals and food. 17 factors in order to develop food and children welfare. For example, increasing the amount of awareness for global warming, or recycling paper like aluminum, etc., or standing up for human rights. We can also mention job opportunities for the youth and decreasing for the amount of plastic usage. All of this had affects the food systems and the food security increases. And next one is about riots. Food riots in history. Food riots can occur when food is scarce and or unevenly disrupted. Reasons may include rising food prices, crop failure, incompetent food storage, transportation problems, food escalation, hoarding, food poisoning, or pest attacks. During 2007 and between 2008, the increase in global food prices caused unrest in various countries. A similar crisis was repeated in 2010 and 2011. A shortage of wheat crops in Midwestern United States due to drought in 2012, as well as the simultaneous onset of corn for ethanol, uh, exacerbates the drought problem. A 1% increase in food prices could push 16 million people below the poverty line. And Russia-Ukraine war and its impact on world food supply. Russia and Ukraine play an important role in global food supply chain. They export approximately 30% of world's wheat and 60% of the world's sunflower oil, the third most rated seed oil after palm and soybeans, and approximately 20% of the world's corn. Wheat was selling for around $8 before the conflict. The KC contract is now approaching $11. If the war continues, expect another 20% increase. This is due to the current market caused by the end of the export period for Russia's and Ukraine's oil crop in 2021. Since the conflict began, the price of soybean oil has risen from about 65% to about 77 cents, 65 cents to about 77 cents a pound. If the discard drags on, it could reach about 86 cents. Palm oil is already scarce and it can easily rise to $6,900 a ton. And how can we prevent food insecurity? Many people can be helped to avoid food insecurity and hunger by expanding nutrition assistance programs, increasing benefits, and eliminating unemployment. The following are some of the ways the government can help to ensure food security. By encouraging local production to fulfill the demands of the expanding population. Advertisements offering minimal support prices for the supply and storage of grains for human consumption.
So we have conducted a survey about food security and everything about food security. So as you can see from the first question, and also by the way, but these questions we have also asked in the interviews that are going to be seen in the video. And the first question is, do you think food security is important? And most of the people, I mean, all of the people answered yes, because it prevents starvation and it is safe access to food. So what are the countries that are affected by the food security? As you can see, most of the people have answered that it's African countries like Yemen, South Sudan, Somalia, Afghanistan, like less developed countries. So even we are included there. So it shows that developing countries need to access the nutritional food because it's dangerous if you do not have them. And what do you think is food security is that most people have wrote it correct, like just access to safe food, which is safe to consume. And we have also made the work share in which Afet and Sahib have done some things in order to do this presentation and this project.
Based on the facts that were started and the information we learned from the interview, the problem of food security is still needed to be learned, and people should be educated on topics like this. Therefore, raising awareness and seeking right information is right for us and the people of the future to be able to have access to nutritional food.